Welcome back. Let's now talk about two issues, but broadly we'll focus on the digital switchover. What exactly is digital switchover? But there's also the NBC that lost at the appeal court because it imposes fine on broadcasters for whatever infraction there is. The court says, excuse me, who are you to impose fine? Are you a tribunal? Are you a court? Because if you impose fine, that means the crime was committed. It needs to go through the right process. So they've lost yet again on that one. But let's focus on digital switchover. I'm not going to do all the breakdown. We have the chairman of Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON, Mr. Tony Akioto. He joins us. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the program. Good to see you, sir.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
We're doing very well. So I would like you to go from the basics. People have heard digital switchover, timeline extended over and over and over and over. So now we're here. So first, I would like you to walk the audience through what digital switchover means, whether it's been deployed or if not been deployed, how soon will it be deployed, the operationalization generally.
Well, as you know, this was a decision taken by the International Telecommunications Union as way back as close to 20 years ago. Nations all over the world were expected to migrate from analog to digital broadcasting. The whole idea is to free broadcast spectrum and make money therefrom, allow telecommunications to use part of that spectrum. And Nigeria has, over the years, gone through so many failed attempts at digital migration. There was a pilot case in 2016 or thereabout in about 8 cities, but that didn't work out, including Abuja, Jos, Oshogbo, Port Harcourt. And the NBC has gone back to review the process and come up with what they now call the big picture, using digital, direct to home satellite. And this provoked quite a lot of discussions in the industry. And stakeholders thought that digital DTT, which is direct to home, as it is today, has been more impactful than using satellites. So we had various stakeholders engagements in the past 2 months, and BON's position was very clear on this matter, that given the very poor internet penetration in Nigeria, you can't solely rely on satellite to deploy television signals across the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. And I believe that the National Broadcasting Commission saw reason with us. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, intervention helped to prevent what would have been a very rancorous relationship between broadcasters and the regulator. But at the end of the day, we had a 4-hour session 3 days ago and came up with some resolutions, which I believe will be a win-win for the industry.
So, sir, let's talk about some of the. So, I did ask whether it's not been deployed yet. Let's be clear on that. Has it been deployed?
Well, what they have actually done now, is to launch FreeTV.
Okay.
They launched FreeTV, which provides you with 100 stations, and you don't have to pay, but you need a box to be able to access the FreeTV. You need a box to access it, as long as you are tuned to the right satellite. So that is what they have done now, and this will be on for the next 18 months.
Okay. I'm sure you're familiar with Godfrey,
that is clear.
Mr. Godfrey Ohabonwa has been very critical of this move. First, he's talked about timing, but he's also talked about, because I understand he's also the association, he's the chairman of the Association of Licensed Set-Top Box Manufacturers of Nigeria. He said that the planned transition is a mere aggregation of channels on Incomsat platforms and not a digital terrestrial television migration as originally approved under Nigeria's DSO framework. And he questioned the issue of timing, given that we're in a transition period. I'm sure you're familiar with the critics of this whole approach, but using him as a point man here, how would you respond?
Indeed, I agree to a large extent with Godfrey Ohaboa. Godfrey is one of the investors in set box manufacturing, and a couple of them were licensed, and they paid 50 million naira to get licensed to the National Broadcasting Commission. They set up industry. And we believe that in line with government's policy of Nigerian first, people like that should be encouraged. And what we have said to the regulator and the Ministry of Information under the Honorable Minister is that it is not fair for those who have gone to banks, take loans at exorbitant interest rates, set up industries, manufactured buses, and they are not bringing them into the picture. And we had actually made this abundantly clear, and the regulators have assured us that they're ready to carry everybody along, that they need millions of boxes, and that even the factory set up by our members is not even enough to produce the quality or the quantum of boxes that they need. But the argument of Godfrey Ohaboa and some people within that ecosystem in the broadcast value chain is that they suspect that government is going to import boxes from China and some other places, cheap boxes, and dump them on the market. And this, they believe, will not go well for the industry they have set up in Nigeria to create jobs, employ Nigerians. But these are issues that we're looking at, and we have said government will look for a way to compensate those who have invested. Otherwise, it's going to discourage Nigerians from investing in the economy.
Well, Mr. Kyoto, I'm not particularly sure why this has taken so long, and that's why I'm not really optimistic about it. I was trained as a journalist in 2013, and I heard about the DSO. I was excited, looked forward to it. Like you've mentioned, you know, we are almost 20 years down the line. In countries like across Europe, North America, Japan, Australia, DSO was accomplished over a decade ago, 10 years ago. Back here with the continent, we are still battling, setting up committees, going back and forth, and that's why for many Nigerians that trust gap would always stay. So what makes you really positive that this is going to work now?
Well, I believe that just like the examples that you cited, different countries deploy different infrastructure, and these to a large extent also had to do with their broadcast culture, their terrain, their environment. So it's an odd mix of internet connectivity, ETT and DTH. And we have said that in Nigeria, because our internet penetration is not ideal, it's not the best of what you have in Europe and other parts of the world. So let's have a hybrid of internet, of digital terrestrial and DTH, because DTH has its own challenges, delivering signals through satellite, particularly if it's KU band. We're in the rainy season, and KU band has a way of not being stable when weather is inclement. So these are issues that we have brought to the table during our stakeholders' engagement with the regulator and everybody in the value chain, and I believe that they agree with us, and they are going to take a look at it, because the consultation and discussion continues. We are in Bonn have insisted that the DG team must be brought back. Unfortunately, the chairman of DG team, engineer Amana, died a couple of years back. But we have a very competent and seasoned engineer, Tunde Adebola, who is acting chairman. So the minister has assured us that the DG team is going to be reconstituted, and I believe that we work together. There is no reason why we cannot deliver a digital switchover that all Nigerians and all stakeholders will be happy with.
Well, this may not be a big deal to some Nigerians, but for millions of other Nigerians who cannot continue to subscribe every month, and other, cost of living crisis we've had to battle with, this is really interesting. It sounds like good news. We hear there's no subscription, it's totally free.
Well, for the free TV, but that's going to be for 18 months. And the regulator had come up with some proposed agreements between those who are involved in this process, as the regulator itself, a company providing audience measurement, and some other stakeholders. But we had insisted that some clauses in that agreement will not encourage those who have invested in the industry, because it imposes some obligations that we think will not go well for the interests of our members. So our lawyers are taking a look at it, and we have said our members should not sign those agreements until our legal team meets the NBC team, and then we can fine-tune and knock off some technical jargons and clauses which we believe will not protect the rights of our members.
So within the time we have, let's also talk about, we can dwell on this as long as we want, but because we wanted you to speak on two broad issues besides the digital switchover.
Somehow, I believe we'll get it right somewhere along the line.
Yeah, hopefully we should get it right. It's about developing and fine-tuning. But you made a very critical statement about supporting Nigeria first. So all of the men who have invested, bought licenses or paid for licenses should also be given priority, except they do not have the capacity, then they can look elsewhere.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about the NBC's constant attempt at extending its powers in terms of managing and putting in their own understanding, in their own rationale, to say they want some sanity in the media space. And one of it is imposition of fine. Now, they appealed the case that was filed. They lost at the trial court. Now they lost at the appeal court. The court saying, look, your case is incompetent. In fact, one of the first things that was said in the initial case was the fact that as soon as the word fine comes in, you're talking about maybe an offense being committed, and it has to pass through a court or a tribunal. But how does the bond receive this news of NBC losing at the appeal court?
Well, for us, we're not excited. We're not thrilled that our regulator and ourselves, the operators, have always had issues that ended up in court. But remember that the civil society, more often than not, takes our case to court because they believe that our rights, as enshrined in the Constitution, specifically Section 39 of the Nigerian Constitution, the 1999 Constitution as amended, is being infringed upon, because the right to impact, receive ideas and information is a right that can't be abridged and can't be compromised in any way. And that's why where media rights case comes in. And they won in two high courts, and they also went to the Court of Appeal. But don't rule out the fact that the NBC will still go on appeal up to the Supreme Court level, because the judgment yesterday was about procedures. The NBC case or the filing was said to be procedurally defective. So I foresee that they might go beyond that and go to the Supreme Court. But that does not serve the interest of anybody. I believe that regulators and licensees should find a mutual way to work together for the interest of the industry.
Maybe I'll just quickly ask if perhaps fines are the only way of regulating media houses.
I agree with you that the issue of fines should not even come in the first place. The code, as it is, needs to be reviewed. The 6th edition of the code, which came into operation in 2019, in fact, it's the longest edition of the code that we have had, that has not gone through a review. That's about 7 years. The first edition came in 1993, after the industry was deregulated in 1992. And thereafter, between 3 and 4 years, you had a review of the code because of changes in technology, the evolution of digital broadcasting. But be that as it may, I believe that one of the key things that we should be looking at doing now is the act establishing the FBC itself. The act is overdue for review. And this is where the National Assembly comes in. There are different versions of the act before the National Assembly. And I believe that the lawmakers should urgently look at ways to ensure that we strengthen broadcasting. We have the right people in place administering broadcasting, and that is getting the relevant clauses in the code which empower, for instance, I mean, the Minister of Information can wake up in the morning. The code gives so much power. The Act gives so much power to the Minister of Information. We're lucky that we have a distinguished gentleman today as minister. But you had a former minister who probably just woke up one morning and decided that he was going to have an amendment to the sixth edition of the code. And that was where all these fines came in. And they come in different categories. The regulator can decide to impose what they call light fines of between 200,000 and 1 million. There are also fines of between 5 million to 10 million. And there is the extreme of 20 million that can be imposed on a station that they believe that has violated the broadcasting code. So, but these are powers that the Act gave to the minister. So it depends on the whims and caprices of the minister who is in power, or his use of discretion in the exercise of the powers given to him by the Act establishing the NBC. So the National Assembly, the earlier they take a look at this, the better for the industry.
I totally agree with you, Mr. Akyoti, because we are in a space where there's a big disruption. Social media has come to stay, and then sometimes for those of us who find ourselves on this other divide, it looks like we do not know how to do our job. Sometimes journalists here in Nigeria have been compared to journalists from international platforms and how they are able to, sometimes function as journalists. And while here, it looks like we have a lot of restrictions and all of that. So when you look at the fact that there's a disruption, there's social media which has come to stay, where everyone now who has a smartphone is a journalist. So
absolutely,
if you were to suggest to the NBC, our regulator, what are the specifics to them in terms of regulating and allowing, perhaps, so that they don't appear like they're stifling Nigerian journalists?
Well, interestingly, the NBC over the years has not done too badly in some areas. Apart from fines, the code is an instrument that I believe the industry needs, because it's a regulatory, an instrument of regulatory work to keep the industry on the highest parts of professionalism and ethical standards. And there are some aspects of the code that new entrants into the profession will need to read. I mean, I have in front of me here the last edition. This is the 6th edition of the code. I can tell you that I've gone through this page to page, and I know what this, in terms of the responsibilities and what it expects of me as a broadcaster, not even only as chairman of the Broadcasting Association of Nigeria, but as a practicing broadcaster. And we all must endeavor to read this and the responsibilities and obligations the code imposes on us. The code itself also mandates the NBC to do quite a number of things that the NBC has not been doing over the years. And one of them is the issue of training, to ensure that professionalism is enhanced in the industry. So it's quite a lot, a gamut of things that as regulators you expect them to do, and we as practitioners ourselves, things that we needed to do that we have also failed. So it's a case of the chicken and the egg, which comes first. But all of us have a role and responsibility, particularly as we come down to the elections, to ensure that the right things are done and that broadcasting actually serves the good, not only for the politicians, but the man on the street himself.
Omar, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program. It's an ongoing convo. We'll keep it going. And the whole idea is to make the space workable, operational, and interesting, and as responsible as well for all of us. Mr. Tony Akiotu is the Chairman, Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. All right, so as it is, you know, the World Cup is ongoing. I think tomorrow we need to talk about the World Cup, but not today. But congratulations to Ghana.
To Ghana.
They were able to pull it off.
DR Congo as well.
DR Congo surprised to 1-1.
1-1 with Portugal.
I think my proudest moment of the continent will be Cabo Verde. That's how they choose. So the English says Cape Verde, but since they are Portuguese origin, you know, it's a mix of Europeans and African slaves and all of that. So they call them Capo Verde.
Capo Verde.
They made, in fact, literally the celebrations online was intense because this is a small island nation of less than 1 million people, about maybe
500,000.
500,000 against a super, you know, superstar team of Spain. You know that
defending champions.
When we talk about the countries that are likely to win the World Cup, we're talking about
the favorites to
Spain.
win.
So, congratulations to all the African teams that are making us proud, and well, the ones that are losing, including our brothers in South Africa. Nigerians and others are still praying for you to lose. Because of your conduct, your political conduct with the xenophobic, which some people have argued, and it's difficult to debate it, that this is more Afrophobic, because that's why I was asking
for
Swani, I said, why is a match and Dululu not going to places like Western Cape or Cape Town, where you cannot tell me you do not have undocumented migrants from Europe, whether it's UK, and all of those people. Well, they know what they are doing with their politics, but we know what we understand. So we'll continue to support. Whether it's South Africa, the 10 African teams, I'm supporting them, even though South Africa is getting on our nerves. We'll still support them. They are our brothers, you know. But Africans are still very angry with South Africans. But if they win, it's good for Africa. So congratulations to all the African victors and the ones that lost. Try again the next match, and the ones that drew, good luck.
Absolutely. We wish them the best, indeed, because the way the continent is even celebrating is like we've even won the World Cup already, but this is still the group stage. But I mean, we're a fun people, we're a happy continent, and that's why I'm sure we're seeing all of the energy that we're receiving on social media, especially for Cape Verde or Capo Verde, or anyhow you want to pronounce or call their names. The 40-year-old goalkeeper, is he Vozinha? In fact, his mother, he got more than 1 million followers after that game.
I think about 2 million.
As it stands now.
50,000.
I saw his mother granted an interview. All of a sudden, she's a celebrity. 10 million we're here. Wow.
Oh, wow. 4 million.
4 million as it stands.
The power sports from less than 50,000.
Less than 50,000.
So, because he made Africa proud. As a matter of fact, we also celebrate all the Nigerians that are representing other countries. Olise, Balogun.
Oh, my word.
15 of them.
Let's not go there. That France national.
Thank you for watching. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Bye-bye.
From Lagos, Nigeria, I am Kelly Giga. Sunrise Daily is next, and the ladies are on standby. Good morning.